Welcome back. It is Friday, and Derrick Jackson's in. Wasn't with us yesterday, so he thought he'd bring the magic today on a Friday. I don't think you've ever been with us on a Friday, have you?
No, I haven't been with you on a Friday, man. So I think maybe I might explore different days of the week. But
See, explored. He bounced right out. Not used to having it. He was so unused to being on Fridays, he just jumped right out of here. But he's going to talk on what were we talking about in the break?
Talking about football facilities and kind of how important this upcoming football season is for IU in terms of the direction of the program.
Yesterday also, Dylan, I had Rhett Lewis on.
New IU broadcaster.
Man, we don't mess around here. We had Jordan Hulls on Wednesday, Rhett Lewis on Thursday, baby. We're on it. Bam, bam. We're out making it happen. But great guy. Looking forward to it. Rhett Kleinschmidt is what you would have normally known him as. Derrick Jackson joins us back again. Derrick, I was just talking that I had Rhett Lewis on with us yesterday.
Right.
Newest color analyst for the Indiana broadcast team, but he has got an extensive broadcasting experience after playing at IU in the early 2000s. He was on the teams with Antoine Randall. And he has spent his time with the NFL Network, several shows on Sirius. But that the broadcast team just took nothing against Buck, who was great, but man, they just raised the bar a little bit. Or a lot.
Yeah, they did. And that's great to see when things like that happen. Very excited for Rhett. Very good extensive experience, just like you said. But again, it all. We can have all of the great broadcast analysts in the world, and that's great. But we've got to win. I mean, when you want to get to the meat and potatoes of it, we've got to win games this year. And I keep saying that. I mean, I'm in football mode here just a little bit. We've got to do something this year to win ball games, and we got to win convincingly. There's just say we were at the bottom when it came to facilities. Well, I mean, unfortunately, we're going to be there until we win games, and until we get some of those personnel in. And like you were talking about, Jen, like we talk about every week, NIL. I think it's going to kind of work against us. I think it's really going to work against our program. I really do.
I've said that a lot. Indiana is going to, in basketball, it's going to be immensely helpful. And as helpful as it's going to be in basketball, I think it's going to be as detrimental because Indiana is not going to keep up in football. I saw a comment a minute ago from Forrest about why invest millions in Indiana football when there's no return on investment? Well, you have to make the investment to get the return. It's the chicken and the egg. But there's never been an investment in football. They have never truly invested in football. Just look at the facilities we just talked about. All that they've done with all those facilities, and that just got them up, and they're still at the bottom of the Big Ten. So to me, that's not making an investment in football. That's doing what you got to do to come and stay along. So the only way for Indiana that they're going to be able to compete for me is they are going to have to invest. They're going to have to. Hoosiers for Good is going to have to land them a quarterback. Seriously, I mean, how else you want to say it? It's the truth. That's what these NILs are. And if anybody sees it differently, that's fine. You can have your opinion, but I think you're off your rocker. But they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to not just land the Malik Reynolds. They're going to have to land a quarterback. And even then, they're not going to land a quarterback that Ohio State's going to get or that Alabama's going to get. So that's fine. But they're going to have to do it to compete. That you cannot sit back and not participate in the NIL. And although it's with football, you got so many more players and positions. I know it makes it more difficult. And I'm not saying that you have to cover all of those, but you have to have stars, though, Derrick. I mean, you have to have a star. You have to have a solid quarterback to start with, or nothing works.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I was thinking about Tawan Mullen the other day, and I think he would probably be the biggest name on IU's roster right now. And I'm waiting on this guy to get some type of NIL deal.
Oh, he
I
already
know
does. He already does.
He does?
He's part of the. He's on the Hoosiers for Good team.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about even a little bit big, like you said, a little bit bigger than that. I'm thinking of. I know isn't there a big medical facility right there in Bloomington?
Well, the Hoosiers for Good is an NIL collective made up of many businesses. Cook Medical.
Cook Medical. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. The CEO, Peter Yonkman, is the board of directors for Hoosiers for Good. The vice president is Calbert Cheney of the Indiana Pacers. You've got a secretary and treasurer from other companies. So it is the Indiana's by far. Anything else is a nuisance NIL thing. It does not compare. It's a drop of water in the ocean. And I don't care who you're talking about. There are people out there that make a lot of noise about NIL and get attention for it, but this is not Hoosiers for Good. Hoosiers for Good we're talking the big money. This is the Hoosiers for Good is why Malik Renaud came to Indiana, not because of any other NIL. I can promise you that it's not apples and oranges here, but they're going to have to do that with football, and not in a nominal fashion, not just doing it as a token. There has to be an investment. I think they have to bring in a quality player, Dylan. What else are you saying? If you don't, you're not trying to me.
Yeah, I mean, it of course it depends on how much they're going to invest in the football program, right? Because that's how this is going to go. It's going to be an investment from boosters, from these collectives, and so we're going to see how much they're willing to go into football, because basketball is obviously going to be a huge part of this. But Indiana can be an NIL stronghold in football as well. It's just going to take the commitment and the effort to get it there.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, like you said. I mean, I'm thinking back in the day. You know, we had big name players like obviously Anthony Thompson, Van Waiters, Ernie Jones. We had big name players that probably would have Antoine Randall, and after my time, players that would probably qualify for some of these bigger NIL deals. And I wonder, are we even going after these targets? Are we even going after a player like Arch Manning? Are we going after a player like that? Are we even trying to go after a player like that? No, are we just saying, you know what, we're not going to get this guy, so let's not even waste our recruiting budget on trying to recruit a guy that we know not's coming in there. I don't know what's happening when it comes to that.
Yeah, because when we talk about basketball recruiting every day here, there's not a lot of talk about football. There's not a lot of names. But that's because you don't see Indiana making the lists that they make in basketball, obviously. And Indiana's become, I think they're going to be a big portal team. The portal is going to be Indiana's best friend from a recruiting standpoint. It already has been, and I think it is going to continue to be that. I think that they're going to have better luck landing guys out of the portal than landing and developing, getting the talent that's there already and developing it up. That's just my thought on it, my take.
I say it every week, and I'm going to say it again. I think that we need to start investing and bringing some of those athletes that we had back. So those players that are, being recruited by Indiana can make the connection. I mean, Coach Tom Allen is a great coach. I mean, Tom Landry was a great coach. But when you think about the Dallas Cowboys, who do you identify with? Deion Sanders, right? So when these kids see Deion Sanders, what do? These big name players, they're very interested in going to Jackson State. So when you see a guy like an Anthony Thompson or a Van Waiters or an Ernie Jones or Mike Dumas, connected with Indiana, it's spark. Players like, oh yeah, I watched that guy. Yeah, he was All-American. You know what I'm saying? You get these type of guys that want to be attracted to the program. I mean, it's hard to go get a 5-star recruit And I mean, you're just a coach, you know. And I'm not saying that Coach Allen is just a coach who's been, who's just been around the block or two, but you need some help, some additional help to get these recruits into your program.
Ross says if Indiana football needs three things to happen to have a chance: a stadium update, NIL funds, and the Big Ten dissolving the division format, which we've talked about that. I don't. The divisions are stupid. The way the Big Ten does it, it's stupid. It makes no sense. Why do you even have divisions when the games you play outside of your division still matter? What's the point? Because that creates a completely unbalanced schedule automatically. So it's dumb.
It makes no sense. I agree, Jim. It makes no sense, man.
The ACC is looking to go to what they call a 5-3 format, where you play three teams. It's the same teams every year. Like Indiana, let's say Indiana would play Purdue, Michigan, and Michigan State, for whatever. The other 5 games, well, that's 8. In the Big Ten plays 9, but the ACC has 8. But the other 5 of the ACC will rotate. Man, that would kind of suck, because you could end up getting 5 hard-ass games, and someone could, and that's where Ohio State would draw Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Rutgers. That would be the games that they would draw probably. But anyway, something has to be done. And not only that, I think they have to do it in a way that the schedule is more flexible, more frequently. Because teams, when they make these runs and they, for a couple of years, change the schedule. The NFL is able to do that. It's totally doable with your conference games, and I think that I think they should do that, and they've got to change the division format. The Big Ten East is just ridiculously weighted. You've never had a winner come out of the West for the Big Ten championship, and it just change it. Just change it. But to what?
That's the question. I mean, when you make changes, you gotta have the end result in mind. I mean, especially when you're talking about making changes, you gotta have the end result in mind. So, and I think that's what's going to help the program is making those changes, but having the end result in mind, and how are we going to get there? And NIL funds, it's. I mean, we don't have it, and it's going to be hard to get.
Dylan, I think the Big Ten needs to go back to 8 conference games, because the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, I believe, plays 8 conference games. That gives you such an advantage on getting to a bowl game, because that allows you 4 non-conference games. So basically you could schedule 4 wins and only have to win 2 conference games every year to get to a bowl game.
Yeah. And basically what the SEC does is they schedule 8 conference games. They have 3 non-conference and then 1 FCS game. So their extra game, their 9th game, is just an FCS team that they're going to roll through. And it helps not only for bowl games, it helps for the teams at the very top of the league. It helps their playoff chances, right? Because you have a game where it's essentially a second bye during the schedule. And so that's a huge part of this as well. I think it makes sense to go back to 8. I do know the NCAA this week is talking about getting rid of the requirement. I think the reporting that I saw is that they're going to do this, getting rid of the requirement that conferences have a conference championship game, which would, I think, open up the possibility of getting rid of divisions and maybe going to some kind of different system. We'll see whether the Big Ten does that. I think the championship game would continue, but then the question is, divisions?
But then how do you determine that? But absolutely, they're not. The Big Ten championship is going nowhere.
No, it makes so much money for the conference. They would never get rid of it.
Oh, hell yes. And it's not about the attendance either. It's which they make plenty on there because it always sells out. But that's a TV juggernaut, man. That's a Saturday night prime time event game there.
Exactly. Yep, that's not going anywhere. It is a big time moneymaker, man. So I agree with you. It's not going anywhere, man.
Unfortunately, it's in Indianapolis, which so that benefits the state, the city as well, which again, the Big Ten football media days will be at Lucas Oil Stadium. So very happy about that. Derrick, you should come up, my friend.
Man, I'm getting back out there, man, because I am missing Indiana. I'm so excited about football coming back, man. I tell you, Jim, you will see more of me this year than you did last year. Trust me.
Dylan, when is football media days? Is it at the end of July?
It's usually in July, a little bit toward the middle of the end of the month. So that's we're actually not that far away. I think Derrick was saying it's about 100, 110, 111 days to the start of the season. We're barely 60 days to media days.
That's why I started thinking. I was like, that's why I started thinking. I'm like, oh man, isn't this in July? I'm like, good Lord. I was like, next month's June. I'm like, we're 2 months. We're a little over 2 months from media day. That is mind-boggling.
Yep.
We're just getting to the AAU basketball stage.
It's going quick, man. It's going quick, and it's got people really super excited. And there's a lot of expectations around Indiana football, period. Basketball, we know is going to get that attention, but I really do truly believe that this year is going to be a different year. On a lighter note, I did see where we had two players. I think Watt Fillier, I think he signed with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And then I think also we had a defensive lineman, he signed with the Canadian League football team too. So that was pretty good to see those players get an opportunity at the next level.